And we are your hosts of the Henny and Tippy Show. We just wanted to first of all start off by saying thank you to all of our new subscribers. We really appreciate the love and support. The channel is growing every day. We are really so excited on this journey that we're on with you all. And I just want to start it right there, baby, and saying thank you. As always, once again, when you get married, yeah, it's going to be ups and downs, peaks and valleys, but that is the heartbeat of love. So tap in with them, baby.
Yeah, thank you all. We've been getting tons of support, and I really appreciate the feedback. Again, my goal is to be authentic, transparent,
Always.
and just to have a conversation, just about what we've experienced and what we've gone through.
Absolutely.
And how to navigate through the ups and the downs and the rounds and the rounds. So,
yeah.
I think today, in light of like the day, like we just had, you work all day, you got your hustle and your bustle, if you have your kids, you got to deal with the kids. And sometimes when you're just doing the everyday, the mundane, like, routine, day in and day out, it can become overwhelming and you can become frustrated, right, in marriage.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, kind of bringing yourself centered and thinking about those little things that matter, that was brought to our attention, right?
Right.
My cousin.
Give a shout out to Big Brother.
Yeah, my cousin. Shout out to
D.
Derek.
Blake. D. Blizzy.
He's like my little big brother. He reminded us, like, think about the little things, because we can really get into some little tit for tat, like little silly arguments about stuff that's not even really important on the larger scheme of things, right? And then it's often interesting to just kind of stop and say, you know what? That doesn't even matter. Right. Like, it's those small things that matter. And we sometimes forget about that. And so when we say small things, what are we talking about?
Well, like, I think my wife forget how many times I bring her a cold glass of ice water.
Yeah, I do forget.
And she'll be like, I could be doing anything, baby. I need some. Like she becomes like super helpless, and she needs this superhero to bring her a tall glass of ice water with heavy ice. So I do that for you. Just anytime I hear she like, damsel in distress, and here I come, jumping down the line to get you.
Yeah. Shout out to my kids, because they were my ice water getters, and now that we're empty nesters, it's kind of,
I've taken over.
I don't have anybody to go get my water and my ice water for me. So yes, I call on you and thank you for that, because it is sometimes those little things that I forget about.
And you don't realize a lot of times I really don't feel like doing it, but because I love you, I do it. But I love you for it.
So today you were cutting the grass.
Yeah.
And even though I was a little irritated with you, I
had to make sure my ice water wasn't spiked.
Right. I was irritated with Dawan, because we're still working this thing out in our marriage, right? Yeah. So we're learning how to communicate better. We're learning how to, meet each other's needs, right? And so sometimes we get frustrated because we're human too, right? So, but I was really in this space, and then in all authenticity, I was listening to another podcast, Dear Future Wifey. Shout out to them.
Shout out, baby.
Yeah, and they had lovely couple on there, the Steels. One thing that when we first started dating, I sent to you, purpose over preference, right?
Yeah, I thought about that today.
Yeah, and we're going to have a good conversation about purpose over preference.
Yeah, that's huge. That would change your life.
Mm-hmm. So she was talking about that, and it really centered me, and I was able to say, you know what, Lord, I know I'm frustrated about this, and I know it's a minor thing, but we do have purpose. And even though it's my preference for my husband to do a certain thing or act a certain way or say a certain thing, I'm not going to get stuck in the problem. I'm going to focus on the purpose. Right. And so while he was outside cutting the grass, you know, he had just got off of work and just started cutting the grass right after he got off of work. And I said, you know, those small little things should be acknowledged and appreciated. So I had to pray and center myself and calm myself down. And, you know, I went and made a glass of lemonade. It was small, but it was a peace offering, right? Yeah. Even though I wasn't wrong.
Don't believe the hype.
I was not wrong, y'all. I promise you. No. But that's the key. Even though I felt that I was not wrong, even though I may have had a part in our miscommunication, I still was able to humble myself. Right. And let the pride go, let the ego go, you know, because it's easy to be like, man, screw that, F that, da-da-da-da-da, you know, just get in that vein.
Watch your mouth,
yes, that's the whole point. But the truth of the matter is, that's the way, you know, that's the way we think. Culture thinks that way, you know, like, forget this, forget that, I don't have to do this, and, you know, whatever. But the point is, you have to know the word, and you have to be willing to sacrifice the flesh and let your spirit rise above how your flesh is feeling.
That's facts.
And that's, I brought you the lemonade.
I agree, yeah. So I had to make sure the lemonade wasn't spiked, you know.
He made me drink it first, y'all.
Yeah, I was like, yo, I'm not drinking this until you drink it first.
And then the funny part is, when I started sipping it, I tried.
I was like, you will not kill the king today. Not today.
Oh my God, that was funny. It was not.
Yeah, I was like, no, yeah.
I didn't do anything to the lemonade. He's still here. You still here. You all right?
Here. Y'all, hey, check on me tomorrow, y'all. Check on me. But no, that's one thing about, and I actually thought about that, purpose over preference, because, you know, and
explain what that means to the people.
Yeah, because, you know, when you're getting with someone, you know, a lot of times we prefer a woman or a man to look a certain way, to have a certain thing, to do a certain thing, to be a certain way. And it was things that I was really big on prior to my wife and I getting together. And she really brought that to my attention. And shout out to Pastor Daniels and also his First Lady. That was a powerful. That message really shifted my life like about 6 years ago. And it really was, because a lot of times you can miss a huge blessing in your life because of your preference. But keep in mind, your preferences, at the end of the day, you could prefer a car or have a preference for a car, but I'd rather have a car with purpose with an airbag in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, over what my preference is. You know, so sometimes those safety features are things that you're really not, you're really not thinking about, you know, and I'm kind of, you know, using some metaphors, but it was just some things that I was really like, man, I really like this certain, you know, my women this certain type of way, yada, yada, yada. And
so let's be transparent. Like, he did not like women who wore
I didn't like
weaves or wigs and stuff like that.
I've never, prior to my wife now, I never dated a woman who, if you did a wig or weave, that was an automatic for me. And I know y'all do not roast me out there. Like, I went my whole life like
and
this.
you know me and wearing frontals and everything now, y'all.
Not me. I'm 100% natural, but I mean, it was other stuff too. But that was like, you know, that was like a small hang up for me when I really thought about it, and because I always felt connected with my wife from a real spiritual, business. It was just so many other things that we were connected, and in the short run, being, you know, at that time, I'm like, man, I could have missed you behind something small.
Right.
And I think the same thing. I think a lot of times, a lot of women miss a lot of good men over men,
preferences.
over just small
Exactly.
preferences. Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, in the podcast I was watching earlier, and his wife was talking about the same thing. And one thing that he said was, women want a man that's 6 feet tall, 6 figures, and a 6-pack. And then, Pastor wife said, that's 666. And you gotta watch out for that. That might be of the devil, you know what I'm saying? So you don't know. You don't want to miss the guy that's a little shorter or, that, have a more humble job, because you could always make more money, right? But you don't want to be so honed in on certain criteria that you miss the purpose that God has for you, and that person may be assigned to you to help you grow in the area that God needs you to grow in, so you can be effective in the marketplace, right? For the kingdom. So if that's a huge thing, and I think that's a foundational piece for relationships, right? Number one for me is friendship, right? Understanding your purpose and having a vision for your marriage. Where are you going? As a husband, you're the leader, you're the head of the household. So what is your vision? Where are you going? Where are you taking me to, right? And then I have to be able to align with that because I'm your help. And I need to be able to be in a position to help you and help us, achieve those goals.
Right. And I want to say this too. We're actually sitting in my vision for us like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I wanted us to be in this very place that we're sitting in.
Go ahead, tell the story. He gonna tell on me, y'all. Go ahead.
Yeah. So literally 6 years ago, right?
Yeah. This is the story of how you have two alpha personalities that clash, and then the whole thing falls apart because ego and pride is too high, and no one wants to humble themselves. Go.
Yeah, she didn't want to humble herself, but I'm persistent. I'm that real alpha, But really, I always had a vision of us, because really this show, we really.
I was frustrated because, and this is the thing in our dynamics, and we have to learn, and we still learning, how to work with each other, right? So my thing is, I wanted to do the podcast. I had myself ready, and ladies, you know what it is when you got to get your face together and you get yourself together and you look in a certain way, right? And you're like, okay, I'm ready to be camera ready, right? And then when I'm ready, he wasn't ready. And then he didn't want to do it. So then I'm like, and then so come on, and I'm like, hey, are we going to do this or not? Are we going to do this or not? And then it's just like out of nowhere, he just jumps up and he's like running, getting everything set up, and he's like, come on, we ready to do the podcast? And I'm like, I don't have no makeup on, I'm not ready, I'm not getting in the camera, I ain't had no wig, no weave done. Like, I was like, you lost your mind. Like, this is not. And so it ended up breaking down our whole communication when it came to the fact of, that's part of the reason, but not the whole reason. But that's one incident that had occurred during that time frame, and we didn't end up doing the podcast that particular day during that time. But
I'm the type of person, when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'm serious about this. The production is a lot of work, especially when you have life, career, business, children. So it's a lot of stuff, but
one thing for us, it's always like you could get caught up in the bells and whistles of things, right? But just reminding ourselves that for us, it's ministry based, right? Because we're hoping that we can share some words of wisdom that can be impactful for you or in what you're going through in your life, or if it's not directly for you, share it with someone who may be able to pull some nuggets out, right? We always hear that term, take the meat and throw it away, eat the meat and throw away the bone. But I caution about throwing away the bone, right? Because you can get some good flavor if you hold, with the bones, right? So eat the meat, hold the bones, and then you may be able to reuse that or repurpose it at a later time in life.
Marrow in the bone, which
yeah,
is the lifeline. Marrow is the lifeline of the blood and just of life. So a lot of times you're throwing away the bone, you're throwing away a key part of wisdom.
And if you've been doing life long enough, you will know that you might be going through something in this season, and it may not apply to you in the next season. But then the next season, you was like, oh my gosh, I remember when so and so said such and such back then. So just that, and those kinds of things is what really helped us too, because we've gone through a lot, and we've said that before, going through counseling, going through therapy, doing the hard work, and still learning and navigating and partnering ourselves with coaches, marriage coaches, and we'll be having those conversations also about particular services that we will offer or we can work with people on.
Absolutely. As part of being a part of a wonderful ministry and organization, Married for a Purpose. Once again, we're marriage coaches.
So certified coaches.
Certified coaches. But also too, so we're going to be putting things out there real soon because this is not a money thing for us. This is truly a passion and something that we've really done so much before even getting certified in coaching. And so many people we have been blessed to help and be a mentor to and a sounding board and just there for people with words of wisdom to help them through tough times. And also shout out to some people, some of those people who we know who are in the process of getting married. So marriage is definitely, it's a lifestyle, and you have to come into it with a lot of just being intentional. And a lot of times people are not being intentional. They're just thinking about, it's this grand idea, but no, it's a grand purpose that's designed by God.
So when you talk about intentionality, what does that look like?
So intentionality, I like to not step on it, but tap on it, because that was one thing with you and I. Once we got into a place and I really felt in my heart like, man, you know what? I see a future with you. And I was telling you that I wanted to see you, because I had moved back from California back to Texas. But I had this really, one, I know I heard from God. Secondly, I knew I had to see you again because I felt like the time, and I was really intentional about, hey, I don't want to get with you to just be like your boyfriend for 5-6 years and we doing our thing and whatever. I'm like, no, I see purpose and plan with you. I see us taking our dreams and visions to the next level. I really felt like, man, you're a missing piece to me and I'm a missing piece to you. And you really asked me too. So what's your? I was like, straight up. My intention is, we get together, we bond, we hear God, we seek God, and we're going to end up being married and being able to take ourselves and our family to another level in God.
Right. So that's the key. Setting boundaries early, right? So when we first started dating, we lived in 2 different states, and so it's like, yeah, it's cool to come visit, every so often, but what are we doing? I didn't want to spend time coming to see you and you coming to see me, and we weren't going anywhere. So understanding early on in dating that we had purpose, that I had a plan, I have purpose, I'm interested in building with you, but where are we going? What is your intentions? And I had to set those boundaries too. So that's why I was very about asking for what I wanted, knowing what I wanted, right? And being able to be vulnerable enough to say to you, hey, what is it that we're going, what are we doing?
And that was likewise. It was a mutual thing, but once again, a lot of times people do get together, they really don't say, what's the intention?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
You make assumptions.
What's the time frame that we're working with? And a lot of people like, hey, I'm just cooling. And you like, but in her mind, she like, man, I'm really trying to get married and I'm tired of dating, or vice versa, he's tired of dating. But so it's real key things. I want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. Those are things that you really have to talk about early,
right?
And set a foundation. Because what happens is all these quote unquote surprises, but they're not surprises. It's just the fact that you never had real conversations with a person. You just looked at, oh man, you fine, you beautiful.
Yeah.
I can see us rocking and rolling, traveling, But what is the purpose? What is the meaning of this? Because at the end of the day, I don't care how fine she or he looks. It's gonna be days y'all gonna look at each other. You're gonna be upset. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with you. I want to deal with you. That's just a part of life. So what is beyond that? Because it's going to happen. I don't care how good it look, or in the moment, in the time, and the highs and the lows. What are we going to do when those times hit? Because they're going to come, no matter how good things look.
Yeah.
Physically, financially, whatever. What's going to take us beyond that?
Yeah.
And that's what we got to. And I was real about it, and thank God, through it all, we had a foundation in that and in God. And when we hit those times, we sought higher knowledge. When we hit those times, we like, man, hey, I just need a minute. I still love you, but I don't want to talk to you right now. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, very intentional and very, was on purpose, and I thank God. Look at us now. Getting better every day. I'm still mad at you, but we good.
Don't get how you being mad at me. No.
And I'm not mad.
No, but
we about to wrap this up. We about to wrap it up. So before we wrap it up, just a couple of key things. Once again, I want to shout out to everybody who's going to be with us on the Love and Football Cruise 2026. Definitely get with us. We're going to put some links out there for y'all to tap in with that. Big shout out to my lovely wife. She's the architect.
Please join us on the Love and Football Cruise. This is a couples cruise. If you are in a serious relationship, or you're married, you're engaged, please plug in and tap in with us. We're going to have a great time being intentional about spending that one-on-one time with the person that you love and that you're looking to do life forever with. And we're going to be having some great things going on within that cruise. And to have conversations with us. We want you to be engaged in our conversation and join our conversation. So if you don't mind, go ahead and go to our website. You'll see the information on the screen. Fill that short form out and communicate with us. Let us know what you think. Let us know if there's any specific questions you may have about relationship, anything, specific topics that you want to hear about or talk about. And if you would like to be featured on the podcast, there's an area for you to fill that out also. And we would love to join you and have a conversation with you and be engaged.
As well. Once again, it's yours truly, Dawan Cuttone, and my lovely wife, Ericka LeAnn. And once again, there's another edition of the Henny and Tippy Show, and we're going to see you guys coming real soon with more episodes and new shows. But until then, we love you. May God bless you and keep you.
Absolutely.
Peace. One love.